Hey guys, Ronnie here. It's February, almost the end. I'm 4 days away from missing my February podcast deadline, but I'm here and I'm recording. We're gonna get right down to business. I'm coming to you via in front of my fireplace because A, I'm cold. I'm always cold, and B, the rest of my house is such a mess. I have nowhere else I could possibly go where I'm not embarrassed by what you would actually see behind me in the video. So I'm just going to throw that out there. It's really bad. But I'm choosing to record a podcast instead of cleaning because it's more fun. All right, so I'm going to get right into the questions. I didn't set up my computer yet where I have like the questions alongside. All right, here we go. First question this month is from Jules, and Jules says this was a few months ago, so I always feel bad when I'm like behind. But anyway, Jules says, Ronnie, I have no motivation and need help. My son is 6 months old now, and I want to try and start to shed my baby weight. I was an avid runner pre-baby and now have no time to do anything. Any advice? Okay, so Jules, I realize I'm a little late answering your question, but I think, any advice I give might help other people, and hopefully you have gotten past this kind of new baby craziness where you're kind of all out of sorts and not really sure how to get back to your own routine. So, first, my advice is to cut yourself some slack. You have a new baby, and as any mom knows, it's a huge, life-changing, holy crap event that you now have to just learn how to navigate your own life again. So cut yourself some slack and don't beat yourself up for not getting into your routine or getting back to running right away. It's just, you just have to do things at your own pace and not feel guilty or, I don't know, get down about it. It's kind of, you have to love yourself and forgive yourself. So that being said, my advice and what helped me get back into running after baby was I signed up for an event. Sorry, I have to shut my ringer off. I signed up for an event way down the line. I was like, okay, I'm going to do a half marathon 6 months from now. And I knew, just because I know myself, by having an event looming over there in the future, I would put together a little training schedule because that's what I do, and I would follow it to the best of my ability. I cut myself slack when I wasn't able to follow it 100%, or if I had to miss a run because the baby was up all night, or if it didn't happen, it didn't happen, and that was okay. But I had something. I had some structure. It's kind of like the same concept of having a to-do list and you check off things. I had my running, training list, and I had that event, and I was going to work my way towards it. That day that event is going to be held is going to come, whether or not, I'm training for it or not. That didn't really come out the way that I wanted it to come out. But you know what I mean. So that would be my first part of advice, is to look ahead. Not that you want to put pressure on yourself, but more that you want to give yourself something to look forward to work towards that's yours. And I think sometimes people don't realize that some women, myself included, struggle after they have a baby to kind of refine themselves. Everything is now about baby, and you're taking care of baby, and you're worried about whether or not he's eating right, and you're not getting enough sleep, and what he likes or doesn't like, or you have family coming in, and you get forgotten, you get lost. And I think doing and returning back to something that gave you pleasure, in your case, and in my case it was running, gives you a little thing that helps you find yourself again. So schedule an event, get yourself a good running stroller. I found I don't run with baby all the time. Actually, I prefer not to, because then it's not my time anymore, because now I'm worried about baby in a stroller, and I'm constantly watching him and making sure that he's okay and not dropping his toys, and that he's, the sun's not in his eyes and whatever. So then it becomes, again, not about me. So I'd much rather, if possible, be able to sneak in a 20-minute run by myself, and then push the baby. But I have, done the running stroller thing, and I think it's a great kind of compromise when you don't have any other options. But I would ask for help and ask someone to watch the baby. I don't know if there's a husband involved or not or whatever. I don't want to make any assumptions, but ask whoever's in your life if they can watch the baby for a half hour, and so that you can get out there, a couple times a week. So I think overall, go easy on yourself, take baby steps, give yourself something to work towards, and then figure out a way in your crazy schedule to either involve baby in the runs, or to ask someone to kind of step in and give you time. You need to do something for you. I think it's the best thing that you can do for the baby. It's not being selfish. It's, I don't know, it's you have to be well mentally and physically to take care of your family. So you might have to frame your thoughts about you time a little bit differently too. So I hope that helps. Again, you wrote this 4 months ago, so I hope you're running. I would love an update in the comments, and I'm sure many people watching would as well. So if you can, feel free to update us and let us know if you got back into running. That would be awesome. Okay, question number 2. By the way, I'm doing my new 2012 thing, where I'm just gonna keep answering questions, and however long I go, or however long I can take it, or whenever the baby wakes up from a nap, we'll stop. Or my back starts to get on fire because I'm sitting next to them. It feels so good, though. I'm one of those people that really like heat. So it loosens my back, too. It's nice. Okay, I'm sorry. Next question is from Sabrina. And Sabrina says, Ronnie, I've been following you for years, and I think you are an awesome mom, wife, and all-around person. Well, thank you, Sabrina. In 2009, I gave birth to my first child. I gained over 80 pounds with the pregnancy, and by the time she was a year old, I had lost all but 10 of the weight. In 2010, I gave birth to my second child. Again, I gained over 80 pounds. My baby just turned a year old at the end of October. I've been going to Weight Watchers, and the first 30 came off quickly and easily. But now I'm stuck, and I can't seem to pull myself out of this hole. I find myself thinking about what I can eat after my husband goes to work so he won't see me. I find myself wanting to overeat just to eat, and I find myself constantly arguing in my head about what I want to eat and what I planned should eat because it's better for my body. So my question to you is, why would you do... What? I think she means what. Sorry. What would you do if you were having trouble making the lifestyle changes you want so desperately to make, but can't seem to get your brain on board with it? Sabrina, I think you have captured a problem that a lot of us have, myself included, in the past, and actually one of the reasons why I've recently kind of shared my aha moment. I had this aha moment post a few weeks ago on the blog where I kind of realized that what I was trying to do, through counting points or doing the diet thing, was backfiring. And I was in the same exact place that you were in. I was starting to, not so much sneak food the way that I used to, but more like lash out by eating food. I don't know if that means almost... I don't know how to explain it. It was having the opposite effect. Instead of following the plan and feeling motivated and having it help me make good decisions, it was backfiring, and it was making me feel too regimented, or I was getting angry and I was getting bitter, and I didn't want to have to do this anymore. And, I wasn't seeing results, and then it was creating that yo-yo cycle that starts to happen where every day I wake up with this, today's going to be the perfect day, and I'm going to be perfect at my diet, and everything's going to be peachy keen, and there'll be bluebirds singing at my window, and I'll go to bed, and, I'll wake up the next day, and that'll be the first day of the rest of my life. Those kind of perfection, that virus that comes in, to your brain, and gets you into that cycle. And then what ends up happening is, while something happened, the husband wanted to go out to eat, and then I said, oh, screw it, I'll get a cookie for dessert, and I'll do this, and then before I know it, I'm grabbing food on my way to bed just because. Why? I'm not hungry, I just want to eat something, and I don't know why, and and all these old bad habits starting to come back. So I totally know where you're coming from. And I think you need to have your own aha moment. And this is where I struggle as someone who's trying to motivate through my experiences, I can't like reach through the screen and shake you and make you have your aha moment. You need to do that and find that. For me, it was this realization that what worked for me in the past is not working for me now, because I am a different person now. I'm in a different situation. I have 2 kids. My life is different, structured differently. I'm not working in a traditional office environment. I'm home all day. I also know different things about, my body and what I can eat, and I eat different foods. And so I'm just, me now compared to me 5 years ago, which is when I lost the weight, originally, or when I was already starting to maintain. Even from there, and I'm, almost the same size as I was and whatever, I'm different. The approaches need to be different. I can't, this whole lifestyle change, dieting, weight loss thing is not a one size fit all. And it's not a one size fit all even for the same individual based on where they are in their own journey. I don't know if that made any sense coming out. It does in my brain. So I feel like you may be in a similar situation that I was. You did this once. You were able to do it successfully. And now you're trying to do exactly what you did the time before. And maybe it's backfiring. And maybe you need to take a step back and say, why do I have these feelings? What is causing me to want to sneak food? And are you lashing out against the fact that you don't want that structure in your life? And maybe release yourself from the whole, I'm going to count points, or I'm going to do this or that, or whatever it is that you're currently doing, and kind of give yourself permission to try something new. And don't think about it as, I know, like some people, and there's a fine line here. There's a fine line, and everybody who understands what I'm saying gets it, between giving up on a diet plan and realizing that it's not for you and trying something different. And some people will say, oh, well, you're not motivated enough, so you can't do it. And that's not the case. It's not working for you, so you need to kind of change gears and try a new approach. So if you weren't journaling, then try to start journaling. If you were journaling, then step back from the journal and try to start to trust yourself a little bit more. That's kind of where I was. I needed to start trusting myself a little bit more and not holding my own hand like a 5-year-old. Like I was treating myself like a 5-year-old, and that I needed to be regimented and told what to eat, and when I had enough or didn't have enough. And that is what I needed when I started, but it's not what I needed now. So I think it's really important to figure out what it is that you need now, and give yourself permission to kind of attack this, lifestyle weight loss thing in a new way, and don't look at it as giving up. Did any of that make sense? I'm hoping that totally makes sense, because I think you and I are probably in very similar situations, and I'm hoping that you have that aha moment where you realize this just isn't working, because I'm actually rebelling against my own diet. You're in a rebellion phase, like you're rebelling against yourself, and in my opinion, again, I'm not a shrink or a doctor or a dietitian or a nurse or anybody, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But in my opinion, you're rebelling against the structure of the plan, and it's manifesting itself by sneaking food and, I can't remember what else you said, constantly thinking about what you should be eating versus what you shouldn't be eating. And you're that's how it's manifesting itself. So that's my opinion. Okay. I hope that helps. I'm going to move on to another question. I always feel like I abruptly end one, like talking to one question asker, and then I have to like abruptly end and move on to the next question asker, and it's like, why? Because this is a one-sided conversation, and I should start doing these live so that we can have like an actual dialogue and conversation, so it doesn't feel like I'm talking into a dot in my computer, which is exactly what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to move on. The next question is from Patty. And Patty says, I'm sorry, it's like I read through them and then I forget what people are asking, so I have to kind of reorientate myself every time. All right, so Patty says, hi, Ronnie, I just have one simple question. Great. How in the heck do I get started? I've been really inspired since finding your blog and want desperately to get my life weight on track. My kids are too old to still be calling it baby weight. They're 6 and 8. But I just can't seem to get it started. I always say I'll start tomorrow and do well in the morning, but the time I get home from work, homework gets done and whatever activity the kids have that day, and I'm worn out and we eat crap for dinner and don't have the energy to work out. I just can't seem to find my motivation. Any words of advice on how to get things started? Thanks, from a new faithful follower, Patty. Well, hi, Patty. I'm glad you found me. Your question is, again, it's very, like, I can see myself asking this question. It's very applicable to my situation. And I was going through that cycle of waking up every morning that what I just described to Sabrina, which, waking every morning and this is going to be the morning and we're going to do it. And then you're right. You just get so frazzled by the end of the day, and then you're ordering a pizza and you're sending the kids to bed and all you want is chocolate. At least that's all I want is chocolate. So, I get it. So here's some of my approaches and some advice that I think may help. One is the way that you've asked your question. You talk about that, by the time you get homework done and then you get to dinner, you end up just eating crap. I think you need to spend some time planning dinner. So, because I know this is what happens to me. I fall into this trap. The days that I don't plan, and I'm not talking doing some crazy plan where you have to plan out the whole week or month and have a grocery list and all that. I'm talking very minor. It's almost like a 1 minute in the morning pause and go, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? The days that I do that, the days where I wake up in the morning while I'm making breakfast, go, wait a minute, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? Okay, I have chicken in the freezer, I have da-da-da-da-da, and, I don't even make a note, I just make a mental note. Maybe I pull out the chicken and defrost it, or maybe, whatever it is. But by doing that one little thing in the morning makes the biggest difference once that kind of witching hour of like 4 o'clock on happens and we have dinner and homework and events and soccer and whatever, because the dinner question already answered. And sometimes, I think a lot of people, I don't have time. Literally, if you know what you're going to make, dinner rarely takes me more than 15 to 20 minutes to prepare. Rachel Ray got it right with the whole 30-minute meals. And sometimes I think, like, I would want to redo what Rachel did and call it 20-minute meals. Like, you can pull together a dinner for a family of 3 to 4 in 20 minutes if you know what you're making and you have it all defrosted. That's key. So I think my one piece of advice would be to spend a moment planning. And everybody plans differently. I'm a very loose planner. I know a lot of people that know what they're going to have every day of the week. That would drive me up the wall, frankly, because there's too many times where I'm reacting to things throughout the week. And I'm one of those people that if I set a plan like that and then something happens, it throws everything off. And it makes me uneasy. I don't know why. Which you think would be the opposite, considering I plan out like trainings for 3 months, and I like that. But I don't like when it has to do with food. I like my food planning to be much more on the cuff. But minor, small plans like that. So I think and your other part of the question is, I feel like I'm jumping around. I had to glance over the whole, you have no energy to work out. I know you're going to hate that I say this. You're going to hate it. You're going to hate me. And a lot of you are going to roll your eyes and you're going to say it's not possible. But I would seriously consider trying to work out in the morning. It may seem impossible. And frankly, it may be for your situation. Again, I'm not going to make any assumptions. But I've gave myself 2 days a week. It's only 2 days a week. There's 7 days in the week. So what's that? 2 out of 7 days. I'm not going to pretend to do math and get a percentage off the cuff. But 2 days a week, I have committed to waking up at 5:30 and going to the gym. It's not every day. I'm not exhausted because I'm trying to wake up at 4:30 or 5 every day of the week. I am lucky that I have 2 boys that sleep in normally to at least 7. Every once in a while they're up in the 6 o'clock hour, but more than often than not they're 7. So again, this is my specific situation, which may not be yours. So I've committed to doing it at least 2 days a week. And what I have found is that those days, by far, are the most efficient. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Like, I get more done. I'm happier. I'm more motivated. I have more energy. They're just better days overall. And I think it's because, A, I did something for myself, like, yeah, I had to wake up early to do it, but I did it, and then I feel great the rest of the day. Even when I kind of even forget that I worked out. Like, oh yeah, that's right. I was up at 5:30. I worked out this morning. So it's not like it's the whole like afterglow of like, oh, I'm so great. I woke up at 5 in the morning and worked out. That's not why my day is great. It's just it physically makes me more able to handle the stressful day. Does that make any sense? So I don't think it's for everyone. Like I said, your situation, maybe you have a baby that's up all night, or maybe your son gets up at 4 in the morning, or whatever. Everybody has different things. But if it's possible to try to figure out 1 to 2 days a week where you can do it for yourself, it makes the other days that you can possibly work out, I don't know, more appealing in a way. Like, I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but so let's say Monday, I wake up at 5, or Tuesday. Monday I take a rest, but Tuesday I wake up at 5:30. I run to the gym. I do my body pump class, whatever. I feel great Tuesday. I get everything. I'm like super mom. I'm superwoman. My house is clean. My work is done. My deadlines are met. My kids are fed. It's one of those just perfect days. And then Wednesday, I don't wake up early, so I let myself sleep as much as the kids let me sleep. I get the kids on the bus. I get my day started. By the end of that day, I feel like something's missing. Like I want to work out. And I think it's because I've set the tone almost for the week by waking up the day before and working out. So then that whole evening, like, oh, I don't really want to go to the gym. It's been such a long day, blah, blah, blah. I'm kind of like, but remember how great I felt yesterday? And it would feel, I want to do something for myself. And I don't know. There's something about like, I think it's like the momentum concept. Anyway, this is a long-winded piece of advice. So what I really want to get at is try to give yourself, even if it's just 1 day a week. 1 day a week. Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. 1 day a week, see if you can figure out a day where you can wake up before everybody else does and get yourself to the gym or go for a little 20-minute run or whatever it is that you do that you enjoy doing for your workouts. And see how you feel that day. And, try to do that for a few weeks. And I feel like sometimes everybody tries to do too much too soon. You're not going to have a new workout habit where you wake up 5 days a week at 5 in the morning and go running before work every day. That's not going to just start tomorrow. It just doesn't happen that way. Take 1 day a week. Do that for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then, figure out how you can interject other forms of activity throughout the week. And then what you'll find is that you start to get motivated and the momentum kind of starts to take over, and then maybe you'll want to start to interject that second day a week, and then maybe you'll find yourself on Saturday afternoons giving the kids to the husband and doing something, whatever. Like it's about momentum and taking a baby step. So I think you get started. This is what your initial question was. How the heck do you get started? You get started by, one, having the realization that this is all important stuff and that you're worth it. And I know the whole concept of you're worth it, but you need to take care of you. And then making one small baby step. Did I bring this up before in prior podcasts? One of my favorite movies ever is What About Bob? And I know it's so cheesy. But the whole baby steps to the elevator, baby steps to the do, really, it's cheesy, but if you really think about it, all those little small steps that you take, they build up, and over the course of time, you don't realize even how much progress you have made. So I would say for you, try to pick out 1 day a week where you can get a workout in the morning. Because waiting to the end of the day, when you have kids and a job and everything else, you're right. By the end of the day, it's hard to get out the door. And then take a few minutes every morning and try to figure out what you're going to make for dinner that night, so you're not eating crap, as you said, and trying to just feed a family with no direction. And unfortunately, when that happens, the easiest, fastest solution is always crap, and I hate that. Why is that? But that's just the way it is, and we have to learn to navigate it. Okay, so I hope that helps, Patty, and just at least gives you a few things to think about, and maybe gives you some direction. And I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I don't really help. I feel like I make things worse sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Again, abrupt ending, new question starting. This question is from Robin. Oh, I remember this question, and I love, love, love this question. Okay. It has nothing to do with diet and weight loss. It's more a kid question, but I am the mom. I'm kind of blurring that line of mom blogger and weight loss blogger anymore anyway, so what the heck. Okay. So Robin says, hi, Ronnie. So I am not sure if you have addressed this, but here I go. I hear my baby. I'm going to have to get him soon. I want to know how you handle food pushers on your son. I know your little guy is still young. Perhaps you have not encountered this. Oh, I have encountered it. I'm starting to see this is going to be an uphill battle for me. Please don't get me wrong. I know that kids need to be kids and treats are part of life, growing up, childhood. However, my dad and father-in-law are already starting, and my daughter is just approaching her first birthday. For example, I walked into the room the other day and my dad was giving her a lick of a lollipop. This may seem minor, but what does an 11-month-old need that for? I'm sorry, I'm out of cadence with her email. I also run a no juice, no soda house. Ditto, except for the soda, but I'll get into that later. It makes me angry. It's not that I'm 100% against it, but if it's not in the house, we won't drink it. Totally agree. And then, of course, she likes it, and my dad is cracking up laughing, and she wants more. You have to understand, my dad has terrible eating habits. Another story for another time. My father-in-law is the overeating type who pushes food on everyone. What, you don't like it? Eat more for Poppy. Don't you want my big muscles? You know, so she's quoting her father-in-law. We also live very close to my in-laws. See them weekly, and we see my parents weekly as well. Any suggestions on how to seriously approach this topic? I don't want to be the bad guy, always saying no to her. I believe there is a time and a place for treats, not a main staple in their diet. Thanks so much, and I look forward to hearing how you would handle this situation. Okay, Robin. This is such a hard question because I have the same things, and so I have kids on opposite end of the spectrum. I have a 6-year-old. And I have a 11-month-old, same age as your daughter. So with the 6-year-old, this is what I learned. First of all, when they were before 1, no one made any decisions about what was going into my child's body except for me. And I don't know, maybe I look at that as the right of the fact that I carried that child for 9 months. I get to pick what he eats. So there wasn't even, and if anyone tried, I remember actually my stepmother trying to give Ryan a sip of soda, of all things. And I know I'm saying that like it's appalling, but I am really anti-soda for myself and my kids. Now, I am married to an avid soda drinker. My in-laws that drink soda. I mean, literally, they go through a 2-liter bottle. Everybody just drink sodas all around us. So it's not like I'm like, I don't know how to say like whatever. I don't preach to them or whatever. For me personally, I am anti-soda, and for my kids, I am anti-soda. And so I was like, she was like, oh, here, have a sip. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm sorry, but I filter myself and I try to be very, politically correct and nice to everyone. And I don't like to rock the boat a lot. But there's a few things where I'm like, no, you don't give my kids soda. You just don't. You don't give them, they're going to then acquire that taste, and then everything that they want to drink is going to be sweet from that point on. So I called her out on it, and I said, I'm sorry, we don't drink soda. It's not, and then, I got the guilt trip, like, oh, well, it's just diet, which I think is worse. It's just a little bit of diet soda. It's not going to kill him. And I'm like, that's not the point. The point is my decision. I'm his parent. End of story. This doesn't even warrant a discussion. So, it wasn't that big of a deal, and it didn't grow into anything. She respected my decision, and now she knows not to give my son soda. So, as he got older, again, and you have to navigate this landscape. I take the approach of educating my child and to not freak out and make a big deal about it. And again, I'm talking after that initial year and a half, when your child is very, very impressionable and you can't really rationalize with them and talk to them. Those ages, I think, are off limits, and as a parent, you just have to put your foot down. But once you get into the toddler ages, the 2, the 3s, the 4s, where they're going to be at daycare, or they're going to be at a relative's house, or they're going to, my son was at a home daycare, and I still love her. She's family to me now. But we have completely different approaches to the foods that we eat. And I realized real fast that I don't want to be the bad guy all the time. But I also have to raise kids that learn, and myself have to learn how to navigate this culture and landscape that we live in with the food choices that are around us all the time. And so I kind of adopted a, how would I phrase this? Like, it's not thick skin. That's not what I'm thinking about. Like, but I should just breathe a sigh of like, okay, so like I would come in sometimes, pick them up from daycare, and they would be eating marshmallows, and I'm like, really? Why don't you just give my son intravenous sugar? Like, I just, again, not that I'm anti-marshmallows, and not that I don't have marshmallows in my pantry, but there's something about, I think, seeing, and I struggled with this, like my mother-in-law does this. She brings a lot of treats for the kids, and I think it's great. I think that's what grandmas are supposed to do. Like, that's just the way it is. But then there's part of me that's like, I then become the person who, God, dude, this is kind of an emotional topic for me. Then I can't be the person that like gives the treats because I let everybody else give the treats, and then I have to be like the voice of reason all the time with the food. And then mom's not the cool mom, or mom's like the strict mom with the food. And so what I've learned is that that's how really that is how I approach it. I also run a no juice house. I very rarely buy juice, maybe once or twice a year, and that's usually when we're expecting company because they expect juice. I have soda, but that's for the husband, and we don't drink the soda. And I have raised a 6-year-old who will declare that soda is bad for you and you shouldn't drink soda. And he makes fun of his own dad for drinking soda on a daily basis. And he's tried it since, and he doesn't like it now. And in my opinion, that's because he didn't have it in those impressionable first 2 to 3 years. And now it's, really, if you think about it, if you've drank nothing but milk and water your entire life, and then someone gave you a sip of soda, aren't you like, ugh, it's gross? It's gross. We've all got used to those tastes, and now that's what it's, that's what we like. By the way, I can ramble about this, and I don't even think I'm answering your question. So my approach now, again, with the 6-year-olds, is I don't freak out, ever. I just don't freak out. I don't go, oh my God, I can't believe you're eating that, even though that's what's going on the inside. And we do have treats. And when we go to the movies, he gets his Airhead Extremes, which is basically nuclear colored, sugar laden strips of whatever it is. It's not food in my opinion, but whatever. And we go to the restaurants, he gets juice or he gets chocolate milk. But when we're home, our go-to snacks are fruits and nuts. And, we do have bags of Doritos because of the husband. And we do have, duplex cookies every couple months. I'll buy a package of duplex cookies or tasty cakes or whatever. But it's not, those things are really looked at as treats because I don't consistently buy them. It's not, I don't go to the store every week and buy a container of duplex cookies. I do it every 6 grocery trips or something like that. And it was like, oh, we haven't had these in a while and we have a treat for them. And you can bet, without a doubt, he gravitates towards those and skips the fruit when they're in the house. And so what I've learned is to really control the home environment. And that sounds like a domineering thing, but I think it's important. I think it's important to kind of strike that balance. And, Ryan is a candy fiend. He's a sugar fanatic. He loves it. But he also, you guys have seen his lunches. If you haven't, I'll post underneath. I post his lunches every day. The kid eats raw turnips and edamame, and he eats red peppers like they're going out of style. So to me, that's about balance. And you don't want to raise a kid who's fearful of eating things. You want him to be able to navigate the landscape and learn when it's appropriate and when it's not, to make choices on his own. And it takes years and years of kind of controlling that home environment, having conversations, I use every possible learning opportunity that I have. And sometimes I put my foot down and I'm the mean mom. And it's worth it because now I'm seeing the fruits of those mean mom years, the 5+ years of being the mean mommy, in my 6-year-old who's able to eat raw turnips and then turn around and have a tasty cake. and he feels like, and he knows the difference, and he'll say things like, well, maybe I'll have a pear first before I have my after school treat because I didn't have any fruit with lunch. What 6-year-old says that? So I think you have to strike balance, and you really, really have to, don't make things off limits, because I think it can backfire in the end. I think you kind of have to manage it and use every opportunity to teach versus, I do apply the because I said so attitude a lot in my parenting, but I don't do it when it comes to food. I think that's an area where he has to know the reasons behind why I'm making the decisions that I'm making, and it's paying off. So I hope that helps a little bit, just get in my head. But I mean, your daughter's really young, and I think in those young, it was around 2, I think, where I started to loosen up a little bit and be a little bit more of that. But younger than that, I really, really do. I side with you here. I think you really do have to control it, because the littlest things change their tastes, and they're so fickle, and they're so impressionable. And once they taste like fake, raw, processed foods, unfortunately, for some reason, and I'll never understand this, fresh, sweetened fruits and whatever they're not as appealing now to that impressionable 18-month-old or that 1-year-old. And not that it's impossible to I don't think it's impossible to navigate. I just find it's much easier if you do control the diet at that young, impressionable age. All right, Robin, I don't know if that makes any sense. But I really could talk about kids and raising good eaters and all that stuff a lot, because it is something I take seriously and something that I really try my best, and I'm trying to figure out as I go along. I have Evan now, who is 11 months, and he has the funniest food habits. I make fun of him all the time. I've never met I'm going to actually blog about this. It'll probably be up by the time I post this podcast, maybe this weekend. The kid doesn't like fruit. And like literally, no, I shouldn't say that. I'm actually lying. He likes fruit, but only in pureed form. If I try to give him like a strawberry or a blueberry or melon, things that you would think, a 1-year-old would immediately like. It's kind of nature's candy. He kind of looks at it, and he's like, ugh, and he touches it, and he pokes at it, and he pushes it off the tray. Then I'm like, really? So then I take it, and I put it in the blender, and I'll blend it up, and I give it to him with a spoon, and he's like, this is good. And I'm like, hello? Yet he'll eat cheese and noodles and beans, and he's another edamame freak. I have an 11-month-old who he'll just eat edamame, but he's just fistfuls. He just throws it in his mouth. So that, you have to navigate your child's personality too. All right, anyway, I'm going to move on. I feel like I talk about that all the time. So I really am a little food obsessed. Especially when it has to do with kids. Okay, I'm going to move on. I think I might try to do one more at least. I heard the husband with the baby, so... Okay. This one's from Andrea. My best friend's name is Andrea, so I always love that name. All right, Andrea says, Dear Ronnie, I love your blog and find your life experiences very enjoyable to read. I'm glad I entertain you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm hoping you can help me with one question. I have been struggling with my weight for years and would like to know if you recommend Weight Watchers or counting calories. I know you have had much success with Weight Watchers, but would love to know what your overall recommendation is for someone just beginning their journey after falling off the wagon for years. Thank you so much for your advice, for any advice you offer. Sincerely, Andrea. Okay, Andrea, I've already answered a couple questions kind of by having your aha moment and finding what works for you. So I find your question, I think I would have answered this differently a few years ago. And I would have gravitated for... Oh, I hear police. I'm sorry. I would have gravitated... I don't know. Can you hear that? They're like going down my street. Anyway, I would have gravitated towards telling you and recommending Weight Watchers because at the time I felt Weight Watchers gave me something that I never had before, which was this ability to easily balance a day's worth of food choices and what I would make. It just fit where I was at that time, and it was kind of I was able to adopt their philosophies, and it became almost intuitive for me look at something and say, oh, that's about 3 points. That'll make a great snack. Or that's about 8 points and that's a great dinner. And, oh, I've eaten about 15 points so far. I can, I have a little bit of leeway to get bread with dinner, or, whatever. It gave me tools I didn't have before to learn to make those kinds of decisions. And it integrated into my life in a way where I didn't feel like I was being deprived, or that things were off limits, or that I was on this diet and, watching everybody eat pizza and I wasn't allowed to have pizza, and then I got bitter, and like, it didn't do any of those things that dieting traditionally did for me for 20 years. That's a long 10 years to say. I'm not that old. And so I would recommend Weight Watchers because that, from my experiences, it kind of freed me from dieting. I know that sounds really weird. I mean, I was dieting, but it freed me from the mentality that things are off limits and I have to restrict stuff, and I don't know how to explain it. It just fit for me at that time. It doesn't fit so much for me anymore. So it's kind of hard for me to make that recommendation. So normally what I need to do is kind of step back and, like, in my experience, I feel like the only advice I can give you is that you need to find that thing that seamlessly does fit into your life, and whatever that may be. I know a lot of successful calorie counters. I know a lot of successful weight loss people who've never counted a calorie in their life. I know a lot of successful low carbers. I know a lot of people who think low carbing is just stupid. I know, like, if you really look at the landscape of people who have successfully lost weight, they've done it all sorts of ways. Now, of course, you can argue that some were able to maintain and others weren't, and there's that whole dimension to it. But if we're looking at just weight loss, almost any reputable approach works. The key is to finding the one that fits you and that gives you that little bit of extra accountability that you may need. Sometimes I think it's as easy as just keeping a food journal and not counting anything. Sometimes I think it's, like for me right now, it was like walking away and learning to trust myself. So I think you got to look at where you are, how much you have to lose, what you've done in the past, what may have worked for you and what may have not, and kind of really, you, through your own experiences, kind of go, okay, this is, I think, a direction for me to take, because I need accountability, or I need less accountability, or I need to weigh every week, or I don't want to get on the scale anymore. I just want to, you almost have to, find that answer for yourself. So I can't really answer it anymore. So, I've given you my opinions on the initial, Weight Watcher plan. I think if you are looking for something that gives you accountability, and you want to spend a few weeks kind of tracking and learning about, what you're eating and how to balance, I don't think Weight Watchers is a bad choice. And I don't think calorie counting is a bad choice. It's the one that, I think you have to pick the one that doesn't seem like a lot of work to you, and that you can easily do, and it doesn't make you, stressed. Because you know how you get stressed. Oh, my back is really getting hot. But you don't want to get stressed about it. You don't want to, I don't know. Like, I just remember getting so caught up in like, I think I've told this story, so you have to forgive me if I tell it again, but I remember one summer, I must have been 20, maybe, not even. I was a baby, let's just say, right? And it was the year The Zone came out, and there was so much press about the Zone book and how it was this great diet plan, and it's good. And I remember reading the newspaper, the news releases, and going, "Oh my gosh, this book is going to solve all my problems. This is it. This is what I was looking for. Yay! This is." I remember I was at the beach, and I was telling Billy, we weren't married then, and I was like, this is the book. I'm going to get this book. Oh, next year at the beach, I'll be able to wear a bathing suit on the beach. It'll be so great. And I just got all that, that diet excitement you get when you think you've found the thing that's going to solve your problem, which we all know will never solve your problem. Because your problem is you, but let's not get down there. Anyway, I got the book. I bought it on vacation, and I was reading it on the beach. skipping all the junk, just getting to the plan and the whole 30, what was it, 30, 30, 40 percentages with the, I swear to God, I think I did it for one meal. I think it didn't even last the whole day before I was like, this is cumbersome and overwhelming. I don't know. I can't do this. And I literally went from like, this is going to solve my problem. This is great. My life's going to be perfect. I'm going to be so thin. I'm going to be able to wear those size 2s and blah, blah, whatever, too. Oh my gosh. I can't do this. Can we just order pizza? Can I just... that's that life. That's that, boom, that like little life cycle that happens, right? So anyway, this is kind of geared to you, Andrea. Like, don't do that to yourself. Don't think that counting calories or points or whatever it is that you want to adopt is going to solve all your problems. Instead, look at it with a clear head and think, I just want a little bit of accountability to drop a couple pounds. What can help me get that? Like, just, I don't know. I'm rambling again. I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to move on. Okay. I said one more, right? Or no, that was my last one. All right. This is the last one because now Heather emailed me and she emailed me this book. I love it. I mean, sometimes I get them and I'm like, I don't have time to read this right now, but then I always get back to it and then it always makes me smile. And she wrote me this whole great email about how she was reading all my archives on her phone and it just made me smile. Okay, but she said, after all her email, she says, my one question. Okay, so this is from Heather. She said, my one question. Like I said, I really just wrote this to tell you about my obsession with reading your blogs. All right, so here's your question though. I find myself hungry as soon as I get into the car after work. It does not matter what time of day or night it is. Does not matter what or when I've eaten while I was at work. I just automatically assume hunger when I get in the car. I've been repeating to myself, hunger is not an emergency. It's an old post of mine. I'll link to it. And that actually worked. I was just wondering if you had any other suggestions for how to decipher between eating out of habits and actually knowing you are hungry. Okay. And then she has something else, but it's not. Okay, so eating out of habit versus knowing you're hungry. Okay, I just thought this was funny because I have these little associations too. Like for you, it's getting in the car and then wanting food. Like for me, and this is what I've been struggling with. I think I'm finally disconnecting the association. But for me, it was getting the kids into the bed. Bam, food. I wanted food. And it was just a reward, I guess. And maybe that's kind of what it is for you. Like after work, it's kind of this like, oh, I'm done with work. And it's kind of this reward. Did you ever watch, what is it? What's the Kara Sedgwick, The Closer. I love The Closer. I think it's great. I think I love the character that she plays. But they have these scenes in some episodes where she gets all stressed and then she goes in her drawer of chocolate and then she sits back and takes 6 bites of chocolate and she's just like, oh, with the chocolate. And I'm like, that scene in that show captures I put the kids to bed and I sit down on the couch and I grab whatever, graham crackers. And I'm just like on the couch going, oh, my day is over. And I'm eating my graham cracker like, but you're right. There's an association there, and it's not hunger. I'm not I mean, I just ate dinner a couple hours ago, and I probably had a snack with Ryan before he went to bed. Even we have fruit almost every night while we're watching TV. So it's like I know I'm not physically hungry. It's just that there's been this connection was made between food and reward, or food and ending the day, or food and whatever. So I hear you. So my advice is, yes, repeating little mantras to your, like, because you're recognizing the pattern. So first of all, lots of people don't even recognize the pattern. So the fact that you recognize the pattern is huge. So recognizing the pattern would be step 1. And then step 2, having a little mantra for yourself, like the hunger is not an emergency or whatever it may be, Other advice 3, distraction. And now for your situation in the car, it's kind of hard to do. I mean, if you have Bluetooth, maybe a distraction would be to like call your best friend or catch up with mom or whatever. I know that that's one of the things that I do in the car. It's just, it's that in itself is now a habit. So distractions, for me, I could take a bath after the kids go to bed or read a book or do whatever. Like you have to find what works, for you and your likes and those kinds of things. So, acknowledging that there, having a mantra, finding a distraction. The other piece of advice would be is sometimes I think almost it's better not to fight it. And I've had this conversation with you guys a lot about, I think sometimes we backfire when we kind of fight ourselves constantly. Like we're constantly fighting ourselves and our cravings, and we shouldn't be snacking, or we shouldn't be eating this, or we shouldn't be eating that, and we whatever, and it's good and that's bad and that's good and that's bad, and then we, you know what I mean? We like, so sometimes I'm like, go with it, right? But arm yourself, be prepared, plan. Have an apple in the car, have a handful of nuts, have something that you can eat that will integrate into your balanced day nicely without, like for me, like sometimes like I have this association, not so much every time I get in the car, but every time I have a long car ride. If I'm driving up to New York and I have a 3-hour ride, or if I'm driving to my mom's house, it's a 3-hour ride. If I'm going to the beach, it's a 2.5-hour ride. If I'm those kinds of trips, these long, like little mini vacation road trippy things, I just want to eat on those, like, and I literally could eat the entire, like if I had an endless bag of Doritos or an endless bag of chips or an endless bag of, I can literally continuously eat for 3 hours in the car without stopping. It's just the way I'd be driving and I'm just constantly kind of, just like when you're watching a movie of popcorn, I can't be the only one that, like I can get a large popcorn just by myself, and by the end of the movie it's gone. It's bottomless. I'm just eating it, and I'm not even thinking. So that's how I am with the car. It's funny that I brought up popcorn, because so now what I do is, instead of, like, we used to, go get gas and then get kind of snacks, and my husband would get combos, which I think I could, I'm sorry, but they're good, but it's like one of those things where I just don't want to eat them. They have no redeemable qualities in my opinion. So, but he'll get combos, and I'll get a bottle of water and he'll get a bottle of soda, right? And then I'm like, well, I don't want to get, like, I don't want to get the food, and then it's like, but I know I'm going to want it, and then I'm going to end up eating his combos if I don't have anything. So then what I do now, this is my new habit, is I pop my own popcorn, and I have the microwave popcorn thing in the bag. Like, I'll show the video, or I'll link over to the video underneath this one, but I'll make a big bag of popcorn, and no butter or whatever, just a little salt, and then I have my endless bucket of popcorn, and I feel like I'm not totally consuming 18,000 calories of combos or Doritos or pretzels or nuts or whatever it is. It gives me the most bang for my buck. So it might not be, so I'm probably not helping you, considering I'm telling you to, like, succumb to it sometimes, but I think sometimes being prepared for it with a smart snack is also a strategy, instead of fighting it all the time and then being angry when you got home, and now you're home, and then you're just like, I'm just gonna eat something anyway. Subconsciously you kind of then rebel against yourself. Do you know what I mean? So that's my advice. Recognize it, mantra, distraction, plan for it. Those would be the things that I would do. Okay, I'm gonna go. We're looking at about 50 minutes here of me just talking to my computer with fire blazing on my back. Plus I have to get my son, and it's lunchtime, and okay, so I feel better about that. I've recorded my February podcast. I've met my end of the podcast bargain that I made to you and myself. All right, so I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. If you made it through this whole 50 minutes of Ronnie babbling, and I appreciate it, and I will see you in March. All right, bye guys. Thanks for watching.